I'm not going to be streaming Parallax again. I am going to get back to that later. It's on the back burner. I looked up a bit of, what's left to do. It turns out the puzzle that I was scared off by is, in fact, the most complicated puzzle in the game, requiring 16 moves. But definitely should be able to handle it. And after that, there's only one more world. I thought there would be like 8, but no, there's 4. So I'm actually not that far away from finishing it. I don't know if I'll be able to do it in one more stream because the puzzles, are obviously going to be a lot harder than in the first half. But I at least know that I've made some pretty good progress. But for today, we've got this Wheels of Aurelia. This is in the Palestinian bundle. It was, and I just closed the thing. Why did I do that to myself? It was in the Palestinian bundle. It was released by Santa Ragione and Paolo Monkey in 2017, I think. Doesn't say on the itch page, whatever. It was also released on Steam, but also on Switch. And out of curiosity, I checked current reviews, and they are quite poor, which is fascinating. It got between a 3 and a 5 out of 10. So here I was, looking at a game that, costs $15 normally, with some jamming tunes, that's for sure, and a lot of feedback on the itch page, and now I'm curious what apparently goes wrong. Although one of the complaints I saw was that it's too short for its price. Okay. And the other one is that, it has good ideas, it just doesn't execute them properly, which continues to mean nothing. But let's get started. Choose your car. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Start me in. Excuse me. Hold on. Oh god. Okay. He seems to be a little off screen. Okay, so you... Okay, you can control with the mouse. Or with the... No. So, I just have this cough that won't quit. Look at this illusion of choice here. So, it's not off to a flying start. It's showing you that the... Because I'm not touching anything right now. It's showing you that the car will attempt to stay on the road on its own. And you pick dialogue choices while driving and letting them... I don't think I was supposed to take as long as I did. Who cares? The night is mine, he says while just parked. Yeah, immediately I want to screw with it, right? If you're gonna give me, like, autopilot... And you know what? He's not saying anything else at this point. Who are you talking to anyway? Like, it'll attempt to stay on the road on its own, despite my best efforts. Crashing doesn't seem to matter. So at least with the introduction, I'm left curious why it was necessary to have the driving at all. No, we can keep waiting. Seems to want me to go to the disco, but... Nope, I'm not doing it. No, it made me. So that's not a good start. I'm back on board. Although I'll be very upset if this is copyrighted music, so I'm going to talk over it. So that's not an auspicious start to the game, and the reason is it doesn't do anything compelling. What's the conflict? I don't know. He's out of cigarettes. What does he want to do? Go to a disco? So what's the core gameplay? It appears to be waiting and also not driving. Those seem to be the main gameplay ideas. Technically driving and technically talking. It's generally best not to try to make, like, the act of talking in a video game engaging. That's not a good idea. And if you're gonna have a cold open to try to show off the dialogue, it would help if there were, if there were more than one person. Now that there is more than one person, we can start seeing. But I wonder. Hold on. I'm gonna check the. Okay, I can't change the resolution from here. I wanted a smaller resolution because that way I'd be able to keep an eye on chat. And the thing is, oh god, please stop. Oh yes, work with me. Everything's going on. I'm just trying to get chat in a place I can see. No, don't. Okay, it's working now. And every time I tab back into the game, it wants to it wants to start controlling with the mouse again, which is why I have to alt tab to get my mouse off the screen, even though it's even though I have it in windowed mode. I wanted it to be smaller so I can keep an eye on chat. But it seems that if I do that, then the character's cut off. And that's not a good sign. That's real no bueno. Leaves. What is this? The Great Gatsby? It's money. The answer is money. And greed. So I'm definitely not, like, immediately interested in these characters. A guy whose current personality traits are goes to the disco, drives, smokes, and this woman here with half a face who there's a hitchhiker, somewhere. Yeah, that was all automatic. So, generally with a short story, which this appears to be, which this appears to be, you really need to establish the conflict quickly. I mean, even lacking almost any sort of conflict. I'm trying to talk and read at the same time. I'm not going to read them aloud. Corn Cross, Dead and Breakfast, even lacking almost completely in a... It did that automatically. Even lacking almost completely in a conflict, did set up what the conflict, you know, what the framing device is going to be, that you're going to be at this house for a week, and that you're going to be taking care of it. It establishes, you know, the owner and her son died. This has just hit a UFO sighting, but other than that, it totally is a rooster in the Zodiac. What are you talking about? What? So, I don't know. Should we? My hands are off the keyboard. I guess so. So it appears that the dialogue responses are not very well coded to what the question is, right? Sure, I'll say the same thing again. Also, I don't think I've seen a single exit, but then I had my mind focused on other things. Oh look, there is an exit. So, am I doing it? This one is at least managing a conversation. Do we still have the last guy? I think we still have the last guy. Because I probably wasn't paying enough attention and missed the exit. So this is set in like the 1970s in Italy, right? I probably should have made that more clear. I don't have anything to say to that. It's amazing. Nothing's really happening, and yet I feel like I'm being pulled in several directions. I really was... This is one of those cases where I kind of was expecting... I don't know, something good. I was really pulled in by the music in the intro. And it's on the store page as well. I delivered them, I guess. Super duper. They're all the way on screen now, which is a nice... They're all the way on screen now, which is a nice, a nice change. Race to Siena, which you know where that is, right? Of course I do. It doesn't. It's forward, right? So, like, if there's a button to speed up, I don't know what it is. I guess it's that. So now I'm in manual control. So we got a case of 2 conflicts going on at the same time, as well as 2 gameplays going on at the same time, both choosing your dialogue and also trying to race. It sure is a good thing that there doesn't seem to be any sort of penalty for driving badly, or I'd have a real rough time of it. But with the story changed, the story direction suddenly going, I'm pregnant also, you want to race, is trying to recreate that in the gameplay by making you race and also select dialogue options, and it doesn't help that I'm also trying to talk about it at the same time. So, you know, I'm reading, I'm selecting, I'm turning, and I'm talking. And it's definitely making my brain go in directions. I mean, I'm catching up, which, considering the fact that I spent the first 5 or 10 seconds or so of the race not knowing how to go fast. I mean, I'm not sure if that's rubber banding. Yeah, you too. Rubber banding or what. Neither of those are the correct option. So, you know, Dead and Breakfast, and also to an extent Basketball, tried to create a story with minimal conflict, having characters basically get along. This is the opposite, where everyone's an asshole. I don't know what this means, but I'm gonna pick it. Am I catching up? I assume all cars perform the same, and that I didn't just choose this thing to get outrun super easily. Yeah, obviously I don't know the status of abortion in Italy in the 1970s. That was interesting. Yeah, they're probably not super keen on it, considering the influence from the Catholic Church. It's amazing. There are obviously a lot of things happening, but like, it's incredible. I don't really care. Definitely when forming a story, you're like supposed to introduce some important things in an important way, right? Not just like, whoops, I'm pregnant. Whoops, car just got jacked. Alright, if he doesn't want to talk. I guess I can just sit back and let the ellipses roll. So what's already gone wrong? For one, the driving is, like... I mean, that's the autopilot. It's not my fault. The driving is not interesting even when you're supposed to be racing. I mean, it felt like... Well, the sense of speed is important in racing games. Yeah, so that was the opposite of speed, even when going fast. And, after that it wants to be a visual novel. But the visual novel appears to just be about clipping through cars. Like, what would you say are the themes to this? What's the metaphors? Well, obviously, it's going hard in the 1970s setting with the conflict of a post-fascism Italy after losing in World War II. You know, 20 years later. As well as the Red Scare going on. And it tackles issues of, like, abortion and the conflict between fascism and communism with all the gravitas of me right now. And, like, I see why this got a 3 out of 10 from some people. Like, okay, a visual novel is supposed to capture readers with its dialogue, yeah? With its writing? Well, this hasn't done that. But it's got gameplay. It's like a racing game, except no, it's really not. I guess there was a race, and I lost it, and there were consequences. But what was the consequence? A change in skin on my car? I mean, it's not like this handles any differently. And about being able to just choose no dialogue option. You know, the store page does say, like, you can choose to say nothing, and that will have consequences. And sure, it'll have consequences. It gives me a chance to talk without having to read the nonsense that they've written. So, the Telltale, the Telltale, Game of Thrones game also allowed you to say nothing. And when a friend of mine discovered that, he decided to see how long he could go without saying anything, and it made the game unintentionally hilarious. Eventually, though, you do get stopped. The character's like, no, I need an answer from you. And then you can be silent, and they'll go, no, I need an answer from you. And then you'll be quiet, and then they'll go, no, I need an answer from you, etc., etc. I don't know if that's the case here, that the game is waiting for me to make a move before it spawns in the location he wants to go to. But, even if that's the case, I'm perfectly happy to just let it do its thing for a while. My hand has not touched the keyboard, by the way, pretty much since I picked up this dude. If that wasn't clear by the auto drive completely failing to, like, stay in the lane. You know, when someone's this desperate to, like, fish out for someone to talk to, I'm all the more... I'm all the more intent on not giving them what they want. Yeah, it's incredible how long this road's gone with no branches. It's almost like this game is railroaded or something. Alright. Alright, you want to just play that line again? It's incredible. I'm 25 minutes in, and I'm already kind of regretting this one. What? What are you talking about? Also, is it over? Also, was Lola supposed to be a woman? I'm so sorry. that's fucking it. Okay. So there's 16 endings, right? And I did deliberately intend I did deliberately choose to not do anything on the last leg. So what you're saying to me, game, is that Lola was a woman? Or did you just, like, misgender them? Okay. No, you did not... You don't get credits music, game. You did not deserve it. So, imagine if you paid $15 for that. You buy a game on the Switch, you're like, hey, this looks pretty neat. It's got an interesting concept. Would you say it wasn't executed well? I'd say it wasn't really executed. I mean, it was executed. Back of the head. So this is a case where the writers decided what they wanted to say, but never decided how they want to say it. Everything just strings together the important points, right? Aside from, like, establishing the setting with smoking in the car and going to a disco and driving a whole bunch. Almost anything anyone says is directly related to what the writers wanted to say. This was most apparent when just suddenly, oh, by the way, I'm pregnant. I'm not going to keep it. I have to go to France because it's illegal here. None of that came about naturally. I mean, as she said, I just met you at the disco yesterday. Right? Yesterday? It was the day before, right? That also wasn't clear. The passage of time is not remotely clear. Oh, Christ. How do I even untangle this mess? So, an important part of storytelling, it's nice to have a central theme. It's nice to have, your key ideas, what you want to say. But it's also important to have the story structure. What's the beginning, middle, and end? Well, the beginning is going to a disco, I suppose, picking up Olga. What's the middle? She leaves. What's the end? You drive in silence with a priest for 20 minutes. That wasn't the intent, though. And then it just lore dumps everything that they did afterwards. Clearly going back to what the writers wanted to say, like, oh, she voted for the legalization of abortion in 1981. See, I did my research. You've learned something today. I suppose I have. Abortion was legalized in Italy in 1981. I didn't know that before. Congratulations, game. Clap, clap. But I could have just as easily learned that factoid from like a bullet point. I didn't need a character. So what did the character accomplish? What was I gonna say? There was something else I wanted to talk about. This game has thoroughly smoothed my brain. Am I allowed to? Okay, I can press and hold space to speed up the credits. Thank you for playing. Is that what I did? I say that. What if I do throughout the whole game what I just did now and don't respond to anything? I suppose not, right? Alright, let's go back to the. let's go back to Parallax. Let's see. Take me back. Take me back. It's huge. Please be smaller. Okay. Okay. So now that we're back with a video game, I can at least give 5C a shot. And if I remember what I want to talk about there, oh yeah, that's right. A big piece of advice that writers get is to make the story. Ask yourself about the story. Is this the most interesting part of the character's life? And if not, why aren't we seeing what is? Being part of a movement to legalize abortion is almost certainly the most interesting part about Olga's life. It's not riding in a car with a weirdo and getting in the world's slowest legal street race. Yeah, I'm just gonna kind of hit things until I start to understand what's going on. Oh, but you couldn't have the affirming device of being in a car if it were about her time voting. Well, then maybe you need to rethink how your story's told. There's also the issue of when you really don't care about what happens to the characters. Now, what does it take to make characters that people care about. Well, if it were easy to know that, if that was something you could just know, then writing would be easy peasy, right? But they clearly have done it incorrectly here, for sure. Because, wow, did I not remotely care about a single one of those characters? Well, why was that? Well, part of it was that they were unlikable. What makes a character unlikable? Generally negative traits. But I thought that having character flaws was part of having making a good character. It is. It needs to be balanced with good traits. What are Lella's good traits? They're ambiguously gendered. I don't think that was intentional. Like, nothing of what Lella did or said made me even remotely like them. So that's like step one failed. The next step is to have them be believable, and it also fails pretty badly there. Most obviously with Olga, but also with the guy you race. Like, it seems like he and Lella both knew what it meant to lose an illegal street race. It means to lose your car. But I, the viewer, sure didn't. Should I have? Uh-huh. Speaking of not understanding... like, the exit's just right over there. What do I need to get to there? Well, I need to probably spin that over and take the booster and land, but also there are lasers in the way. I got one of them, but I still have the other to worry about. And the thing is, another aspect to consider is that now that this bar is this way, I don't think it's going to be causing any more problems at all. That is, I don't think that it being here, it being in the position it currently is going to stop any sort of move. So I can sort of just do what I did, but with the portals as is reversed. And I'll be able to hit the other button. And then I'll have the lasers out of the way. And then it'll be a matter of getting up here with the track reversed. With the track flipped. My brain just cannot comprehend whenever I flip this if I'm correct or not. Nothing. So what do you do about the story? How do you fix Wheels of Aurelia? Well, first we need to decide, is it salvageable? And I think the answer to that is yes. I think talking about Italy in the 1970s is generally interesting enough to hold a game. So, alright, it's got the idea. Now, what went wrong with the execution? We can say that the execution definitely went wrong, but why is that? Well, like I said, the main character is unlikable, and the first principal character is unbelievable. So, you have to first address those two issues. Which requires more time, basically. And more time spent with the driving game is not what I want. So I think you also need to address that the whole driving game framing device is not interesting. At its best, with the racing while also holding a conversation, it gets your head sort of going in two directions, and with the story going in two directions at that point as well, um, you you kind of get this. You kind of get this synchronicity where the gameplay feels like how the conversation's going. So that's good. Clap, clap. But does that mean you keep doing that? Well, maybe not. Definitely, there needs to be part of the game where you're not doing the whole driving thing. It does not add the sort of flair to the narrative that they probably hoped it did. What if they're both flipped this way? So there should definitely be some sections that are not in the car, where things can slow down and you can be more informational. In visual novels, a large part of what separates them from books is the ability to slow down and gather more information. And this can mean talking to NPCs and learning things. You know, you have a section where you can like walk around town and do stuff and talk to people. And when you do that, I would say viewers get more engaged in the world. Well, the world's the real world, right? So it shouldn't be that hard to build on, and all the information's there in the history books, as it were. That looks like it's gonna do something. But another thing would be better developing what Lella wants. Because at the moment, that just seems to be literally, to drive and to drive the plot. They don't seem to have anything they want. What are their desires? What are their hobbies? What are their concerns? What are their hopes? Who are their friends? Adding to these things can make a character more believable and more likable by making them more relatable. Failing to have them results in characters being shallow and unbelievable. That's a bad combination. That doesn't seem like it was useful. Yeah, I think what I did actively worked against me. Oops. So first, you make the character more interesting. Second, you add a more cohesive central plot. What's going to happen? Well, it seems a big part of it is the Red Scare, and also women's rights to safe abortions. Neither of those things really involve driving, do they? So why are they the central themes in a game about driving? I'm kinda starting to get this, but not really. It doesn't help that I'm incredibly distracted. Uh-huh. Okay, okay. Eh? Okay. So then with it flipped like this, I need to go over there, hit the switch, and then I need to undo what I did earlier. Okay, now go to the right and flip. And now go to the left side and flip. Yeah. That brings it back over to the top one. I need to hit that one again because it needs to be at its standard position. It's currently in a secondary position, and that's no good. That's gonna actually stop me from getting to the end. So hit this and go back. First I need to flip the center platform again so I can get out. And now I should be able to go up to the upper section and take the ramp to the exit. I think I solved it. This had a lot of parts, but it actually wasn't quite as complicated as it looked. Mostly there were just a lot of things to fix. You had to get the lasers out of the way, you had to get this turned upside down, and you need to make sure this is pointing up. You do all that, and you miss the jump, and that solves the puzzle. Just like that. Hey. Only 43 attempts in 16 minutes. So there's 16 endings to Wheels of Aurelia, yeah? Presumably giving different choices, doing different things like winning the race, or whether or not you pick up the hitchhikers. Let's talk about the hitchhikers. So, like, one was like, I saw a UFO, and that was his whole character. And then the second one, what was his deal? Left such little impact on me. Oh yeah. He's he roots for a sports team that isn't where he's from because he really loves the town that he lives now, and he loves their team because of the thing he owes to the town he lives now, and cares a lot less for his hometown. That's it. No wonder I couldn't remember. He's a sports fan. They'd slip right out of my memory. So there are a lot of visual novels in the bundles. And as we've seen, some of them really good. Like Retrace, that was genuinely enjoyable. Some of them are merely like Dead and Breakfast. Seemed like it'd be interesting, turned out to be a total non event. And some of them are raging dumpster fires, actually. Yeah, I think the 3 out of 10 might have been a bit nice. Was it buggy, even? I mean, it depends on how you want to call something buggy. Like, the auto drive hit cars and hit the side of the road. That probably shouldn't have happened. And I clipped through cars when I hit them, but that kind of thing's not that unusual. So another thing about the driving is that if you wanted the driving to have equal billing to the story, right, it should probably have some consequences. Like, oh, but you say, the guy who beat you in the race took your car. That's a consequence. And as I mentioned at the time, it really wasn't. I mean, I guess it changed the direction of the story, but it didn't change the gameplay at all. The new car was just as fast, turned just as well, just as everything. Looked similar, even. So, like, you suddenly have this character who's built their whole life around driving right, and now they don't have a car. What happens next? Oh, they just ask someone for a car, and he's like, it's not very good. And you go, it's good enough for me. You had this easy opportunity for a big shake up in the status quo, and you just completely squander it by just going, oh, here's a new car. I guess it's crappy. And that's what I really mean by a lack of consequences. While it did change where Lello went and what they did, it didn't actually change how they did, how they went about their life. And that's also, like, related to the fact that they're just such a non-character. You know, most people, they lose a car, they'd probably be like, I was still paying that off. But not Lello. Lello's just like, yeah, I lost. Here's a car. Who cares? And how do you identify with a character right like that, right? They're either so out of touch, like with money, that people who need money, right, like to eat and have shelter, uh, see them as so irresponsible as to not care, or they just like have independent wealth elsewhere that losing something like that doesn't matter. It's a lot of things, yeah, that add up to this really bad character. And it's one thing to have a character be a bad person, and in this way it sort of is, I guess. But oh boy, are they just not a compelling character? So the next time, incidentally, when I stream Parallax, I'll do that level again now that I know what I'm doing, and then I'll continue on. I just wanted there to be something to this stream, you know, just like Throw me a friggin' bone. I think that's gonna do it for today. I'm certainly not going to go back and get the 15 other endings. That was the game starring Nothing Burger and hello, my character is that they're pregnant, and hello, my character is that I saw a UFO, and like, I don't know, someone who might have been interesting in a story written by people. Mr. My hometown is dead to me. I like this new place better. If they were written by a person like a human with who writes, then I don't know, that could have been interesting. Whatever the priest's deal was, I obviously just threw it away because at that point I'd had enough. The game had shown its cards, and it was a two of spades, a blue number 4 from Uno, get out of jail free card, a Weedle, and a Hitatsumi Giant. And I wasn't interested. So I'm gonna stop it there. I've got more games that I've already downloaded that look interesting enough. This is one of those that maybe I should have tried a bit ahead of time, because that way I know better what to expect. Next time, I'm torn either between, let's see, a game called Surfacing, or what's this actually called? Hold on, I'm just gonna extract something real quick. I have a game downloaded and its file name is RS Windows Stable Risk System. Yeah, Risk System, which looks like a pretty good shmup, and Surfacing, which is like looked like an RPG Maker game about a seal. That seems interesting enough. But that's for next time. I didn't even get to an hour, even with going over to Parallax. This was, oh boy, is this a 1 out of 10? I mean, it's not overly buggy, right? It should probably get at least a 2. Is this worse than, the same as, or better than Taco Tom? That's my metric now, isn't it? Well, I'm gonna have to consider that. I'm thinking it's probably around the same area as Taco Tom, obviously for very different reasons. Taco Tom was trying to be irreverent and failed to be funny. This game wanted to be meaningful and informational and failed to be interesting, even if it was technically informational. The takeaway is, while having a central meaning or theme to your story is nice and can help spice it up, it's more important that you make the story engaging and compelling first, and then weave in the meaning. Don't start with the meaning, or you'll end up with characters who just seem like they're, not that they're preaching, but that the writers are using them to preach. Does that make sense? And you can focus on fewer things. Being pregnant in 1970s Italy is obviously a big drama. Why not make a whole game around that and not have to include Mr. UFOs? See, people were talking about UFOs in the day. Wow, they really are the rage. Or whatever the priest was on about, or the conflict between fascism and communism. Especially considering Italy was, I mean, the literal birthplace of fascism. It's where the name was coined. I'm pretty sure. Look, no one's gonna watch these videos. No. I'll make some decisions. Hey, it's over an hour. That's good enough for me. And I'll make a review for Wheels of Aurelia. It's not going to be positive.